Welcome, dear traveler, to a journey that will take you beneath the waves of time itself, into the depths of one of humanity's most enduring mysteries. Tonight, we dive into the legend of Atlantis, that fabled civilization that has captured imaginations for over 2 millennia, inspiring countless explorers, scholars, and dreamers to search for traces of a paradise lost beneath the sea. As you settle into your comfortable position, allow your breathing to slow and deepen, like the gentle rhythm of ocean waves lapping against a distant shore. Feel the weight of the day dissolving away, as if you were sinking peacefully through layers of warm, crystalline water, deeper and deeper into a realm where reality and legend merge like currents in the vast ocean of human consciousness. Close your eyes and imagine yourself floating in the Mediterranean Sea on a perfect summer evening, the water so clear and calm that it seems like liquid glass. Above you, the first stars are beginning to appear in the darkening sky, their light reflecting on the surface of the water like scattered diamonds. Below you, the sea floor drops away into mysterious depths where ancient secrets lie waiting to be discovered. Tonight, we will explore not just the legend of Atlantis, but the very human need to believe in lost golden ages, in civilizations more advanced and harmonious than our own. We will follow the trail of clues left by ancient philosophers and modern scientists, diving deep into the ocean of possibility to discover what truths might lie hidden beneath the waves of myth and speculation. Let your mind drift like a gentle current as we begin our exploration of this timeless mystery. Release any skepticism or preconceptions and allow yourself to be carried along by the flow of our investigation. Whether Atlantis was real or imaginary matters less than what it represents. Humanity's eternal longing for perfection, for a world where wisdom and power were balanced in perfect harmony, where technology served humanity rather than enslaving it, and where the relationship between civilization and nature existed in perfect equilibrium. As we embark on this peaceful journey through legend and science, through ancient texts and modern discoveries, let the rhythm of your breathing match the eternal rhythm of the tides, and prepare to be transported to a realm where the impossible becomes possible, and where the deepest mysteries of the past whisper their secrets to those who listen with open hearts and minds. Chapter 1: Plato's Vision, the Birth of a Legend. Our story begins in ancient Athens, in the 4th century before the Common Era, in the philosophical school established by one of history's greatest thinkers. Picture, if you will, the serene gardens of Plato's Academy, where olive trees cast dappled shadows on marble walkways, and the sound of fountains mingles with the voices of students engaged in philosophical discourse. It was here, around 360 BCE, that Plato first shared with the world the tale of Atlantis, a story that would echo through the centuries and inspire countless generations of seekers and dreamers. Plato, whose very name means broad-shouldered, was not merely recounting an idle fantasy, but presenting what he claimed was ancient history, passed down through generations of Egyptian priests to the Athenian statesman Solon, and from Solon to Plato's own family. The philosopher presented this account in 2 of his dialogues, the Timaeus and the unfinished Critias, weaving the tale of Atlantis into his broader philosophical exploration of the ideal state and the relationship between divine justice and human hubris. In Plato's account, the story begins with Solon's visit to Egypt, where he sought to learn about the most ancient times from priests who were the keepers of records stretching back thousands of years. These wise men, guardians of knowledge preserved in the sacred temples of Sais, told Solon that the Greeks were but children in their understanding of history, knowing nothing of the great civilizations that had risen and fallen long before their own culture emerged from barbarism. The Egyptian priests spoke of a time 9,000 years before Solon's visit, when Athens was a very different city, inhabited by a noble race of warriors and philosophers who embodied the highest virtues of courage, wisdom, and justice. These ancient Athenians, according to the priests, had faced their greatest test when a mighty empire from beyond the Pillars of Hercules, what we now call the Strait of Gibraltar, had launched a massive invasion aimed at conquering all of Europe and Asia. This empire was Atlantis, an island continent larger than Libya and Asia combined, situated in the Atlantic Ocean beyond the Pillars of Hercules. The Atlanteans had grown powerful and wealthy beyond imagination, ruling over many other islands and parts of the continent. But their success had bred arrogance and corruption. What had once been a noble civilization, guided by divine wisdom, had degenerated into a militaristic empire driven by greed and the lust for conquest. Plato's description of Atlantis itself reads like a dream of earthly paradise. The island was arranged in concentric circles of land and water, with the royal city at its center situated on a hill that rose from a vast plain. The god Poseidon, lord of the seas, had fallen in love with a mortal woman named Plato, and had shaped the island as a dwelling place for her and their children. He created alternating rings of land and sea, 2 of land and 3 of water, making the island impregnable and providing it with abundant fresh water springs, both hot and cold. The descendants of Poseidon and Plato became the royal family of Atlantis, ruling over a civilization that combined advanced technology with spiritual wisdom. They built magnificent temples, palaces, and harbors, connecting the circular zones with bridges and tunnels, and creating a canal system that allowed ships to sail from the outer ocean to the very heart of the island. The central temple dedicated to Poseidon was a wonder to behold, covered in silver and gold, with a roof of ivory and walls adorned with precious metals and gems. The Atlanteans were master engineers and architects, but they were also skilled in the arts of war and governance. Their military might was legendary, with vast fleets of ships and armies of chariots. But for many generations they used their power wisely, governing justly and maintaining peace throughout their empire. The island itself was incredibly fertile, producing 2 harvests each year and supporting a population that numbered in the millions. But as Plato tells us, power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Over the generations, the divine blood of Poseidon became diluted with mortal blood, and the Atlanteans gradually lost their connection to the divine wisdom that had once guided their civilization. They became greedy and ambitious, seeking to extend their empire through conquest rather than maintaining the peaceful prosperity they had inherited from their divine ancestors. The gods, seeing the corruption that had infected Atlantis, decided that the time had come for divine justice. Zeus, the king of the gods, called a council to determine the fate of the once noble civilization. And here, tantalizingly, Plato's account breaks off, leaving us to imagine what judgment the gods pronounced and how it was carried out. But we know the outcome from hints scattered throughout Plato's writings. In a single day and night of catastrophic earthquakes and floods, the island of Atlantis sank beneath the waves, leaving behind only an impassable sea of mud and the memory of a civilization that had reached the heights of human achievement before falling victim to its own moral decay. As you drift deeper into peaceful slumber, imagine yourself in Plato's academy, listening to the master himself as he recounts this ancient tale. The evening air is warm and fragrant with the scent of jasmine and olive blossoms, and the distant sound of the sea mingles with the philosopher's gentle voice. Around you, other students listen in rapt attention, their faces illuminated by the flickering light of oil lamps as they contemplate the deeper meaning of this story about the rise and fall of civilizations, the corrupting influence of power, and the eternal struggle between wisdom and ambition that defines the human condition. Chapter 2: The Island of Dreams, Reconstructing Atlantis. Let us now dive deeper into Plato's vision, reconstructing the magnificent civilization of Atlantis in all its glory before the fatal flaw of hubris led to its destruction. Close your eyes and allow your imagination to transport you back through the mists of time, to an age when the world was younger and the boundaries between the mortal and divine realms were more fluid than they are today. Picture yourself approaching Atlantis from the sea, sailing in a sleek vessel across the wine-dark waters of the Atlantic Ocean. The morning sun rises behind you, casting a golden path across the waves that leads directly to your destination. As you draw closer to the island, you begin to make out its distinctive circular structure, the alternating rings of land and water that Poseidon himself had carved from the earth as a gift to his beloved Plato. The outermost ring of water serves as a natural harbor, protected from the ocean swells by the surrounding land. Here, ships from all corners of the known world lie at anchor. Egyptian vessels laden with gold and ivory, Phoenician traders carrying purple dye and cedar wood, and mysterious craft from lands so distant that their very names are whispered like legends. The harbor bustles with activity as sailors and merchants conduct their business, their voices creating a polyglot symphony that speaks to the cosmopolitan nature of Atlantean civilization. As your ship passes through the great canal that connects the outer harbor to the inner rings, you marvel at the engineering prowess of the Atlanteans. The canal is wide enough for two triremes to pass each other comfortably, and its walls are lined with smooth stone blocks fitted together with such precision that not even a knife blade could slip between them. Bronze gates control the flow of water between the rings, and you can see the complex system of locks and channels that allows vessels to navigate between different water levels. The first ring of land that you encounter is devoted to agriculture and suburban dwellings. Here, the fertile soil supports orchards of fruit trees whose branches bend low under the weight of their bounty. Apples and pears, figs and pomegranates, citrus fruits that fill the air with their sweet fragrance. Fields of grain stretch to the horizon, tended by farmers who have perfected the art of irrigation through an intricate network of canals and aqueducts that distribute the island's abundant fresh water with mathematical precision. The houses in this outer ring are comfortable but modest, built of local stone and timber, with red tile roofs and gardens where families grow vegetables and herbs for their own use. Children play in the streets and splash in the smaller canals, their laughter echoing across the water, while their parents go about their daily tasks with the unhurried confidence of people who live in a land of plenty. Passing through another canal, you enter the second ring of land, where the atmosphere becomes more urban and sophisticated. Here stand the workshops of master craftsmen, metal workers who shape bronze and iron with skills that border on the magical, potters whose vessels are prized throughout the Mediterranean world, and jewelers who set precious stones in settings of gold and silver that capture and reflect light like trapped starfire. The architecture in this middle ring displays the wealth and artistic sensibility of Atlantean civilization. Buildings rise 2 and 3 stories high, their facades decorated with intricate carvings and colorful frescoes that depict scenes from mythology and daily life. Public baths fed by hot springs provide gathering places where citizens can relax and socialize, while libraries and schools ensure that knowledge and learning are available to all who seek them. Markets and bazaars line the main thoroughfares, offering goods from every corner of the known world and many that are unknown. Spices from distant islands perfume the air, while merchants display bolts of silk that shimmer like captured moonlight, precious stones that glow with inner fire, and works of art that seem to breathe with life. The sound of hammering from the smithies mingles with the music of street performers and the calls of vendors hawking their wares. Finally, you reach the innermost ring of water, and beyond it, the sacred center of Atlantis itself. Here, on an island perhaps a mile in diameter, stands the royal palace and the great temple of Poseidon, structures so magnificent that they seem to have been built by the gods themselves. The palace complex sprawls across terraced gardens that cascade down the hillside like a green waterfall, each level connected by marble staircases and adorned with fountains that dance in the sunlight. The Temple of Poseidon dominates the highest point of the central island, its golden roof visible from every part of Atlantis. The building itself is a marvel of architecture, constructed entirely of white, black, and red stone quarried from the island itself, and decorated with precious metals that gleam like fire in the Mediterranean sun. The roof is covered with ivory carved into intricate patterns that tell the story of Poseidon's love for Plato and the founding of the Atlantean dynasty. Inside the temple, the atmosphere is one of hushed reverence and awe-inspiring beauty. The walls are lined with silver and decorated with gold, while the floor is paved with a mosaic of precious stones that depicts the ocean in all its moods and seasons. At the center of the temple stands a colossal statue of Poseidon himself, carved from a single block of ivory and gold, showing the god standing in his chariot drawn by 6 winged horses, his trident raised as if to command the very seas themselves. The royal palace, connected to the temple by a covered walkway, is equally magnificent but more intimate in scale. Here, the royal family lives in luxury that would make the gods themselves envious, surrounded by gardens where exotic flowers bloom in eternal spring, and fountains that play music as the water falls from tier to tier. The throne room is a masterpiece of artistic achievement, its walls covered with murals that seem to move and breathe, depicting the history of Atlantis from its divine founding to the present day. But perhaps the most remarkable feature of Atlantis is not its architecture or its wealth, but the harmony that exists between human civilization and the natural world. The Atlanteans have learned to work with nature rather than against it, channeling the island's natural springs and thermal vents to provide heating and cooling for their buildings, using the tides to power mills and workshops, and cultivating their crops in ways that enrich rather than deplete the soil. The people themselves reflect this harmony in their daily lives. They are tall and strong, with the bearing of those who have never known want or fear, but their strength is tempered by wisdom and their prosperity by generosity. They dress in simple but elegant clothing, preferring natural fibers dyed in the colors of sea and sky, and they adorn themselves with jewelry that enhances rather than overwhelms their natural beauty. As you explore this island paradise, you begin to understand why Plato chose Atlantis as his model for the ideal state. Here is a civilization that has achieved the perfect balance between material prosperity and spiritual development, between individual freedom and social responsibility, between human ambition and divine wisdom. It is a place where art and science flourish together, where the strong protect the weak, and where the pursuit of knowledge is valued above the accumulation of wealth. But even as you marvel at the perfection of Atlantean society, you cannot forget that this golden age is destined to end. Somewhere in the future lies the catastrophe that will destroy this paradise, the moment when divine justice will exact its price for human hubris. For now, though, you can rest in the peace and beauty of this lost world, allowing its harmony to soothe your spirit as you drift deeper into the realm of dreams, carried by the gentle rhythm of waves lapping against the shores of an island that exists now only in the realm of imagination and hope. Chapter 3. The search begins. Theories and locations. As the centuries passed after Plato first told the tale of Atlantis, the story took on a life of its own, inspiring countless scholars, explorers, and dreamers to search for evidence of the lost civilization. Like ripples spreading across the surface of a calm lake, the legend of Atlantis expanded outward through time and space, touching the minds of everyone from ancient historians to modern scientists, each adding their own interpretation to the enduring mystery. Let us drift now through the corridors of time, following the trail of those who have sought to solve the riddle of Atlantis. Picture yourself in the great library of Alexandria, where ancient scholars pored over papyrus scrolls by lamplight, searching for any mention of the lost island in the writings of earlier civilizations. The air is thick with the scent of old parchment and burning oil, while outside the windows, the lighthouse of Alexandria sends its beam across the Mediterranean, guiding ships safely to harbor, just as these scholars hoped their research would guide them to the truth about Atlantis. The first serious attempts to locate Atlantis began with the assumption that Plato's account was essentially accurate, and that the island had indeed existed somewhere in the Atlantic Ocean beyond the Pillars of Hercules. Early explorers sailing into the Atlantic reported islands that seemed to match Plato's description, only to have these discoveries prove to be either misidentified known lands or complete fabrications born of wishful thinking and the human tendency to see what we hope to find. As geographical knowledge expanded and it became clear that no large island continent existed in the Atlantic Ocean where Plato had placed Atlantis, scholars began to propose alternative locations for the lost civilization. Some suggested that Plato had confused his directions, and that Atlantis had actually been located in the Mediterranean Sea rather than the Atlantic Ocean. This theory opened up a wealth of possibilities, from the volcanic islands of the Aegean Sea to the mysterious civilizations that had once flourished along the North African coast. One of the most compelling theories emerged in the late 19th century when archaeologists began to uncover the remains of the Minoan civilization on the island of Crete. Here was a Bronze Age culture that had flourished from approximately 2700 to 1100 BCE, reaching its peak during the period that would correspond roughly to Plato's timeline for Atlantis. The Minoans had built magnificent palaces, developed a sophisticated writing system, and created art of breathtaking beauty and complexity. Picture yourself walking through the ruins of Knossos, the greatest of the Minoan palaces, as archaeologist Sir Arthur Evans first saw them in the early 20th century. The complex sprawls across several acres, its walls decorated with frescoes that seemed to dance with life, dolphins leaping through azure seas, young men and women participating in the dangerous sport of bull leaping, and processions of elegant figures bearing gifts to unseen deities. The architecture itself speaks of a people who lived in harmony with their environment, incorporating natural light and air circulation into their designs, with a sophistication that would not be matched for centuries. The Minoan civilization possessed many of the characteristics that Plato attributed to Atlantis. They were a maritime power with extensive trade networks that reached from Egypt to Britain. They had advanced knowledge of engineering and architecture, and they seemed to have lived in relative peace and prosperity for over a millennium. Most intriguingly, their civilization came to a sudden and mysterious end around 1450 BCE, possibly as a result of the massive volcanic eruption that destroyed the nearby island of Thera, modern-day Santorini. The Thera eruption was one of the largest volcanic events in recorded history, comparable to the explosion of Krakatoa in 1883, but many times more powerful. The eruption would have generated massive tsunamis that could have devastated coastal settlements throughout the eastern Mediterranean. while the ash and debris thrown into the atmosphere would have caused climate changes that could have lasted for years. For those who believed that Atlantis was based on a real civilization, the destruction of Thera and its impact on Minoan Crete provides a plausible explanation for Plato's account of a great civilization destroyed in a single day and night. But the Mediterranean is not the only sea that has been proposed as the location of Atlantis. Some scholars have suggested that the lost civilization might have been located in the Black Sea, which was once a much smaller freshwater lake before rising sea levels at the end of the last ice age caused the Mediterranean to break through the Bosphorus and flood the entire basin. This catastrophic flooding, which may have inspired the biblical account of Noah's flood, could have destroyed a thriving civilization and left it buried beneath hundreds of feet of water. Others have looked even further afield, proposing locations as diverse as the Caribbean Sea, the North Sea, and even Antarctica. Each theory has its proponents and its evidence, from underwater structures off the coast of Bimini that some claim are the remains of Atlantean roads, to satellite images of what appear to be geometric patterns beneath the ice of Antarctica that could represent the ruins of an ancient city. The search for Atlantis has also led explorers to examine the possibility that the lost civilization might have been located not on an island, but on a continent that has since been submerged by rising sea levels. During the last ice age, sea levels were much lower than they are today, and vast areas of what is now the ocean floor were dry land. The Doggerland region of the North Sea, for example, was once a large landmass that connected Britain to continental Europe and supported a thriving population of hunter-gatherers before being gradually submerged as the ice sheets melted. Some of the most intriguing theories about Atlantis focus on the possibility that Plato's account preserves memories of real historical events that occurred much earlier than his stated timeline. The end of the last ice age, around 11,000 years ago, was a period of dramatic climate change and rising sea levels that would have had catastrophic effects on coastal civilizations around the world. Could Plato's story of Atlantis be a distant memory of one of these lost cultures, passed down through oral tradition and eventually reaching the Egyptian priests who told it to Solon? The search for Atlantis has been aided in recent decades by advances in underwater archaeology and remote sensing technology. Sonar mapping of the ocean floor has revealed underwater formations that some researchers believe could be the remains of ancient structures, while satellite imagery has identified geometric patterns on the sea floor that appear too regular to be natural. Deep-sea submersibles have explored underwater canyons and ridges, searching for any sign of human habitation in areas that were once above sea level. One of the most systematic searches for Atlantis has been conducted by marine archaeologist Robert Ballard, famous for discovering the wreck of the Titanic. Ballard has used advanced underwater technology to explore the Mediterranean Sea, the Black Sea, and other bodies of water, looking for evidence of ancient civilizations that might have inspired Plato's account. While he has not found Atlantis itself, his expeditions have uncovered numerous underwater archaeological sites that demonstrate how much of human history lies hidden beneath the waves. As you drift deeper into peaceful sleep, Imagine yourself aboard one of these research vessels, gliding silently through the dark waters of the deep ocean. The only sounds are the gentle hum of the ship's engines and the soft beeping of sonar equipment as it maps the seafloor far below. On the monitors around you, ghostly images appear and disappear. Underwater mountains and valleys, ancient riverbeds carved when the sea level was hundreds of feet lower, and occasionally, tantalizing glimpses of what might be artificial structures hidden in the abyssal depths. The search for Atlantis continues to this day, driven not just by scientific curiosity, but by the human need to believe that somewhere, somehow, there once existed a civilization that achieved the perfect balance between wisdom and power, between technology and spirituality, between human ambition and divine harmony. Whether that civilization was real or imaginary matters less than what it represents. Our eternal hope that humanity can do better, that we can learn from the mistakes of the past and create a future worthy of our highest aspirations. Chapter 4: Beneath the Waves. Scientific Investigations. As we dive deeper into the mystery of Atlantis, we enter the realm of modern science, where sophisticated technology and rigorous methodology have replaced the speculation and wishful thinking that characterized earlier searches for the lost civilization. Like deep-sea explorers descending into the abyssal depths, contemporary researchers have used every tool at their disposal to probe the secrets hidden beneath the waves, seeking evidence that might finally resolve the question of whether Atlantis was fact or fiction. Picture yourself in a state-of-the-art marine research facility where banks of computers process data from satellites orbiting high above the Earth and from submersibles exploring the deepest trenches of the ocean floor. The atmosphere is one of quiet concentration as scientists analyze sonar readings, satellite images, and core samples taken from the sea floor. Each piece of data potentially holding the key to unlocking one of history's greatest mysteries. The scientific search for Atlantis has been revolutionized by advances in underwater archaeology and marine geology. Researchers now understand that the Earth's surface has changed dramatically over the past 12,000 years, with sea levels rising by more than 400 feet since the end of the last ice age. Vast areas that were once dry land are now submerged beneath hundreds of feet of water, and it is entirely possible that evidence of ancient civilizations lies hidden on the ocean floor, waiting to be discovered by future generations of underwater archaeologists. One of the most promising areas of research has focused on the Mediterranean Sea, where underwater surveys have revealed numerous submerged settlements and harbors that were once thriving coastal communities. The ancient port city of Herakleion, located off the coast of Egypt, was lost beneath the waves for over 1,000 years before being rediscovered by marine archaeologist Frank Gaudio in 2000. The city, which served as Egypt's main port before the founding of Alexandria, was perfectly preserved beneath the Mediterranean, complete with temples, statues, and ships that provide a window into ancient maritime civilization. The discovery of Herakleion and similar underwater sites has demonstrated that entire cities can indeed disappear beneath the waves, just as Plato described happening to Atlantis. Geological studies have shown that the Mediterranean region is particularly susceptible to earthquakes and tsunamis, which could cause rapid subsidence of coastal areas and the sudden inundation of low-lying settlements. The 365 CE earthquake that destroyed much of Alexandria and caused massive tsunamis throughout the eastern Mediterranean provides a historical example of the kind of catastrophic event that could have inspired Plato's account. Marine geologists have also studied the possibility that Atlantis might have been located on one of the many seamounts and underwater ridges that dot the Atlantic Ocean floor. These submerged mountains, some of which rise to within a few hundred feet of the surface, could have been islands during periods of lower sea level. The Azores Plateau, for example, is a massive underwater formation that extends for hundreds of miles across the central Atlantic, and parts of it may have been above sea level as recently as 12,000 years ago. Core samples taken from the seafloor around these underwater formations have revealed layers of sediment that tell the story of dramatic environmental changes over the past 15,000 years. Some of these sediment cores contain evidence of rapid sea level rise and catastrophic flooding that could have submerged entire land masses in a matter of decades or centuries. While this time frame is much longer than the single day and night described by Plato, it would have seemed instantaneous from the perspective of ancient peoples with limited understanding of geological processes. The search for Atlantis has also benefited from advances in satellite technology and remote sensing. High-resolution satellite images have revealed geometric patterns on the ocean floor that some researchers believe could be the remains of ancient structures. The most famous of these discoveries was made by Google Earth users who noticed what appeared to be a grid-like pattern on the seafloor west of the Canary Islands. While subsequent investigation revealed that these patterns were likely artifacts of the sonar mapping process rather than evidence of ancient construction, the incident demonstrated the potential for satellite technology to aid in the search for underwater archaeological sites. Underwater robotics has opened up new possibilities for exploring the deep ocean in search of evidence of ancient civilizations. Autonomous underwater vehicles, AUVs, equipped with high-resolution cameras and sonar, can explore depths that are inaccessible to human divers, mapping the sea floor in unprecedented detail and identifying potential archaeological sites for further investigation. These robotic explorers have discovered underwater caves, canyons, and formations that were carved by rivers and inhabited by humans when sea levels were much lower than they are today. One of the most intriguing scientific investigations related to Atlantis has focused on the possibility that the legend preserves memories of the Younger Dryas period, a brief return to Ice Age conditions that occurred around 12,900 years ago. This climatic event, which lasted for approximately 1,300 years, was characterized by rapid cooling, massive flooding, and the extinction of many large animal species. Some researchers have suggested that the Younger Dryas was triggered by a cosmic impact event, such as a comet or asteroid strike, that could have caused the kind of catastrophic destruction described in Plato's account of Atlantis. The impact hypothesis is supported by evidence of a thin layer of sediment found at sites around the world that dates to the beginning of the Younger Dryas period. This layer contains high concentrations of iridium, platinum, and other elements that are rare on Earth but common in extraterrestrial objects. It also contains microscopic diamonds and other materials that could have been formed by the extreme heat and pressure of a cosmic impact. While the impact hypothesis remains controversial, it provides a possible scientific explanation for the global catastrophe that some believe inspired the Atlantis legend. Genetic studies have also contributed to our understanding of ancient civilizations and population movements that might be related to the Atlantis story. DNA analysis of modern populations has revealed evidence of ancient migrations and cultural exchanges that occurred during the period when Atlantis was supposed to have existed. These studies have shown that there were indeed sophisticated maritime civilizations in the Atlantic and Mediterranean regions during the late Pleistocene and early Holocene periods, some of which may have possessed the advanced knowledge and technology attributed to the Atlanteans. The study of ancient climate records, preserved in ice cores, tree rings, and marine sediments, has provided detailed information about environmental conditions during the time period when Atlantis was supposed to have flourished and been destroyed. These records show that the period around 9600 BCE, when Plato claimed Atlantis was destroyed, was indeed a time of dramatic climate change and environmental upheaval. The rapid melting of ice sheets at the end of the last ice age caused massive flooding and sea level rise that would have had catastrophic effects on coastal civilizations around the world. Perhaps most importantly, modern science has given us a better understanding of how oral traditions and cultural memories can preserve information about real historical events across thousands of years. Studies of indigenous cultures around the world have shown that important historical information can be passed down through generations with remarkable accuracy, even in the absence of written records. This research suggests that Plato's account of Atlantis could indeed preserve memories of real events that occurred in the distant past, even if the details have been embellished or altered over time. As you continue your peaceful journey into sleep, imagine yourself aboard a research submersible descending into the depths of the Atlantic Ocean. The water around you grows darker and colder as you sink deeper, until the only light comes from the submersible's powerful searchlights cutting through the eternal darkness of the deep sea. On the seafloor below, you can see the traces of ancient riverbeds and coastlines, evidence of a time when this underwater landscape was dry land where ancient peoples might have built their cities and lived their lives. The submersible's sonar paints ghostly images on your screens. Underwater mountains and valleys, ancient coral reefs now turned to stone, and occasionally geometric shapes that seem too regular to be natural. Each discovery raises new questions and possibilities, reminding you that the ocean still holds countless secrets waiting to be revealed by future generations of explorers and scientists. In this realm of eternal mystery and possibility, the legend of Atlantis seems not just plausible, but inevitable, a symbol of humanity's endless quest to understand our past and imagine our future. Chapter 5: Modern Mysteries. Contemporary searches and discoveries. As we drift through the currents of contemporary investigation, we find ourselves in an age where the search for Atlantis has been transformed by technology that would have seemed magical to Plato himself. Satellite imagery, underwater robotics, and computer modeling have opened new frontiers in the quest for the lost civilization, while the internet has created a global community of researchers, both professional and amateur, who share their discoveries and theories with unprecedented speed and reach. Picture yourself in a modern research center where multiple screens display real-time data from around the world, satellite feeds showing the ocean surface from space, sonar readings from deep-sea exploration vessels, and computer models that reconstruct ancient coastlines as they existed thousands of years ago, when sea levels were hundreds of feet lower than they are today. The atmosphere buzzes with the excitement of discovery, as each new piece of data potentially brings us closer to solving one of history's greatest mysteries. One of the most significant developments in recent Atlantis research has been the application of advanced sonar technology to map the ocean floor in unprecedented detail. The use of multi-beam sonar systems has revealed underwater landscapes of breathtaking complexity, including submerged river valleys, ancient coastlines, and geological formations that tell the story of dramatic environmental changes over the past 15,000 years. These detailed maps have identified numerous locations where ancient settlements might have existed before being submerged by rising sea levels. The Mediterranean Sea has been a particular focus of this high-tech investigation, as researchers have used side-scan sonar and sub-bottom profiling to peer beneath the seafloor sediments and identify buried structures that might represent the remains of ancient civilizations. The discovery of numerous underwater archaeological sites in the Mediterranean, from the submerged port of Caesarea in Israel to the drowned settlements off the coast of Greece, has demonstrated that the technology exists to find and explore ancient cities that have been lost beneath the waves. One of the most intriguing recent discoveries has been the identification of what appear to be artificial structures on the seafloor near the Azores Islands in the central Atlantic. Portuguese researchers using advanced sonar equipment have mapped what they describe as a pyramid-like structure rising from the ocean floor, with geometric features that seem too regular to be natural. While the structure has not yet been directly explored by submersibles, the sonar data suggests that it could be a man-made construction of considerable size and complexity. The use of satellite imagery has also revolutionized the search for Atlantis, allowing researchers to identify potential archaeological sites from space. Google Earth and other satellite mapping services have made high-resolution imagery of the entire planet available to anyone with an internet connection, leading to numerous claims of Atlantis discoveries by amateur researchers. While most of these claims have proven to be misidentifications of natural features or image processing artifacts, the democratization of satellite imagery has greatly expanded the number of people actively searching for evidence of the lost civilization. One of the most systematic satellite-based searches for Atlantis has been conducted by Dr. Rainer Kühne, a German physicist who has used satellite imagery to identify potential Atlantis sites based on Plato's specific geographical descriptions. Kuna's research has focused on the area around the Strait of Gibraltar, where he has identified rectangular and circular patterns in the landscape that he believes could correspond to the geometric layout of Atlantis described in Plato's dialogues. While these patterns could have natural explanations, they have generated considerable interest among Atlantis researchers. The development of autonomous underwater vehicles, AUVs, has opened up new possibilities for exploring the deep ocean in search of archaeological evidence. These robotic explorers can operate at depths and in conditions that would be impossible for human divers, using high-resolution cameras and sonar to map the seafloor and identify potential sites of interest. Several AUV missions have been specifically designed to search for evidence of Atlantis, exploring underwater ridges and seamounts that could have been islands during periods of lower sea level. One of the most ambitious recent projects has been the use of artificial intelligence and machine learning algorithms to analyze vast amounts of oceanographic data in search of patterns that might indicate the presence of underwater archaeological sites. These computer systems can process satellite imagery, sonar data, and geological surveys much faster than human researchers, identifying anomalies and features that might otherwise be overlooked. While this technology is still in its early stages, it holds great promise for accelerating the pace of underwater archaeological discovery. The search for Atlantis has also been aided by advances in marine geology and our understanding of how the Earth's surface has changed over time. Researchers now have detailed models of how sea levels have fluctuated over the past 20,000 years, allowing them to identify areas that were once dry land but are now submerged. These models have revealed that vast areas of the continental shelves around the world were exposed during the last ice age, providing potential locations where ancient civilizations might have flourished before being submerged by rising seas. Climate scientists have also contributed to Atlantis research by studying ancient climate records and identifying periods of rapid environmental change that could have caused the kind of catastrophic destruction described by Plato. Ice core data from Greenland and Antarctica has revealed that the Earth's climate system is capable of extremely rapid changes, with some transitions from ice age to interglacial conditions occurring over just a few decades. These findings suggest that the kind of sudden catastrophe described in the Atlantis legend is not only possible, but has actually occurred multiple times in Earth's history. The study of ancient DNA has opened up new avenues for understanding the movements and relationships of ancient populations that might be connected to the Atlantis story. Genetic analysis of modern populations has revealed evidence of ancient migrations and cultural exchanges that occurred during the time period when Atlantis was supposed to have existed. Some researchers have suggested that certain genetic markers found in Atlantic island populations could be evidence of ancient connections to a lost civilization, though this interpretation remains highly speculative. One of the most intriguing aspects of modern Atlantis research has been the discovery of numerous underwater structures around the world that appear to be artificial, but whose origins remain mysterious. The Yonaguni Monument off the coast of Japan, the Bimini Road in the Bahamas, and various underwater formations in the Mediterranean have all been proposed as possible evidence of ancient advanced civilizations. While mainstream archaeologists generally attribute these structures to natural geological processes, they continue to fuel speculation about lost civilizations and advanced ancient technologies. The internet age has also seen the emergence of citizen science projects that allow amateur researchers to contribute to the search for Atlantis. Online platforms allow volunteers to analyze